Okay, so originally I was planning on doing this tomorrow, but I might as well just knock it out today because I was like thinking like what else to do. So I mean like I was just editing videos and actually I just like finished editing the previous Sith history video, so I thought maybe I could finish it off. So welcome back, guys, and I think this is gonna be the very last Sith history video because I can't find one after this. And after this one, we're gonna jump into the Republic history actually, because the next video that showed up was the Republic history video, so we're gonna jump right into that. So welcome back, guys, to the to the very last Sith history video, which is called the Rule of Two. So that means the main character in this one is gonna be Darth Bane. I already knew who Darth Bane is. He was very famous for that, the Rule of Two. So basically, he's what kept started this tradition, and as you can see in like the videos of like the the movies, episodes all the way from 1 all the way to, well, I don't know if 7 or 9 did it, but I mean like there were 2 of them, but still, either way, the master and apprentice. I don't know how else to explain it, but yeah, at least he left a long tradition that kept the Sith alive. So we're gonna see like what happened, like not just creating it, like what led to creating it and what the effects were. So without anything else, let's get into it.
In our last video on the history of the Sith, we told the story of the 7th Battle of Ruusan, which saw the new Sith and the Brotherhood of Darkness wiped out in a climactic final battle with the Jedi. When we left off, the year was 1000 BBY. The Jedi believed themselves totally victorious, and the Republic was starting to rebuild from its century-long Dark Age. The Sith were thought to be extinct, but this was not the case. A single Sith Lord had survived Ruusan, Darth Bane, and in secret, he reformed the Sith Order, introducing a new philosophy and a new plan for ultimate victory. Today, in the final chapter of our history of the Sith, we'll be revealing the secrets of Bane's Order of the Sith Lords, discussing the last few centuries of the Sith before the start of the films.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
2 there should be. No more, no less. One to embody the power, the other to crave it. So decreed Darth Bane, then the sole surviving Lord of the Sith in 1000 BBY. This doctrine, the Rule of Two, became the guiding principle of the Sith for the next 1000 years, and it was instituted to solve what Bane saw as the fatal flaw of the new Sith. For 1000 years, the new Sith had the Republic and the Jedi on the back foot, but they were constantly squandering their strength with pointless infighting. Battles over the title of Dark Lord of the Sith were common, and groups of weaker apprentices would regularly band together to kill stronger masters, as happened to Darth Ruin, weakening the Sith as a whole. Bane's predecessor, Lord Khan, tried to resolve this issue with his Brotherhood of Darkness, which restricted competition and made the Sith into a dark mirror of the Jedi Order, which Bane saw as an affront to Sith ideology. Thus, he manipulated Khan into destroying himself and the other Sith of the Brotherhood on Ruusan so that he could rebuild the Sith from the ground up. The new Sith's problems stemmed from a contradiction within Sith ideology, one which we've seen play out countless times over 6,000 years of Sith history. The ideology of the Sith preached extreme individualism and constant competition, championing selfishness and personal power to the exclusion of all else. The Sith believed that only the strongest deserved to rule, and that the strongest could only prove their strength through competition. This encouraged Sith to constantly betray each other, and it made any Sith
That's a lot of lightsabers he's
self-sabotaging,
controlling.
as empire building required a sort of martial unity,
or he or she,
that
I can't
was
tell.
anathema to Sith ideology. The structure of most Sith orders made this problem worse by giving multiple weaker Sith an opportunity to band together to take down stronger masters. This contradiction made the ideology of the Sith inherently self-destructive, and all prior Sith orders had to make a choice between destroying themselves or watering down Sith ideology. Bane's Rule of Two was the only solution to this contradiction. Bane did away with the armies and empires, the legions of apprentices and councils of lords. He limited the Sith to a single Dark Lord of the Sith, a master, and a single Shadowhand, their apprentice. In doing so, Bane believed competition, which was the way of the Sith, could be encouraged without squandering strength. Without other apprentices to ally with, after all, the lesser of the two Sith Lords would need to become stronger to become the Master. Thus, with every generation, the strength of the
fire
Sith
shot.
would increase, and to Bane, that was all that mattered. Bane's rule of two came in tandem with a new plan for victory. Rather than trying to conquer the galaxy by force, Bane's Sith grand plan called for the Sith to strike from the shadows, manipulating the galaxy into coming under Sith control. Treachery, after all, was the way of the Sith, and historically, the Sith had always performed best when working from the shadows, as the Sith triumvirate did in the Dark Wars. Bane hoped his plan would lead to the extermination of the Jedi and the total triumph of the Sith, but he didn't believe this would happen in his lifetime. Rather, his plan would take
Palpatine,
centuries to come
there's
to fruition,
Grogu,
guided all the while by
and
his
Gunray.
order of the Sith Lords. Before leaving Ruusan, Bane took a young Force-sensitive girl to be his apprentice, Darth Zanna. The two settled on desolate Umbria, and for 10 years, Bane raised the young girl as a Sith Lord, teaching her everything he knew and testing her against the Hissus dragons of the planet's Lake Nut. Zanna became a powerful Sith Lord, particularly skilled in the obscure art of Sith sorcery, and Bane constantly reminded her that, per the rule of two, she would kill him and take an apprentice of her own when she was strong enough to do so. 10 years after Ruusan, Bane and Zanna were discovered and nearly destroyed by the Jedi during a misadventure on Tython. Thanks to Zanna's Sith sorcery though,
On Tython?
the two were able to escape, and the Jedi were tricked into believing they had killed Darth Bane. Instead, Zanna had driven a childhood friend of hers mad and set him up as Darth Bane, and the Jedi, who didn't know what Bane looked like, fell for the ruse and killed him. As part of this encounter, the Jedi learned of the rule of two and Bane's reformed order of Sith Lords, but they believed they had nipped the threat of these new Sith in the bud. They were, of course, wrong. After this incident, Bane and Zanna spent the next 10 years covertly manipulating the galaxy. A lot of this work involved ensuring that the Republic was able to rebuild and remain intact. As Bane reasoned, the collapse of the Republic would mean that the Sith would have to topple multiple splinter states, which was harder than seizing control of one galaxy-spanning republic. The two crafted civilian identities for themselves, posing as Sep and Alia Omek, and moved to Ciutric 4, where they bought a mansion and began amassing a vast personal fortune based on that of the late Lord Cordus, whose IGBC account Bane was able to seize control of. During this time, Bane's health began to deteriorate due to his immersion in the dark side, but for a while, Zanna showed no sign of betraying him. This infuriated Bane, who feared she would wait until he was weak to strike, thus defeating the purpose of the rule of two. Thus, Bane sought out and found the holocron of Darth Anderu, which taught him the power of essence transfer, a dark side ability that would allow Bane to take over the body of another. He planned to take over Zanna's body and find a new apprentice, and to replace Zanna, he selected an Iktochi huntress he named Darth Cognis. But Zanna was unwilling to be replaced, and on Ambria, Darth Zanna fought one last battle with Darth Bane. Zanna won, and though Bane attempted to survive via essence transfer, Zanna thwarted his attempt and destroyed his spirit. She took Darth Cognis as her apprentice, allowing the Order of the Sith Lords to continue. Zanna and Cognis continued Bane's grand plan, with Zanna inheriting the fortune she and her master had amassed and passing it on to Cognis. Darth Cognis eventually slew Darth Zanna and took an apprentice of her own, Darth Millennial, a three-eyed human mutant. But Millennial disagreed with many aspects of Bane's ideology, especially the rule of two, bringing him into conflict with his master, who was totally committed to Bane's doctrine. Eventually, she branded Millennial a heretic and kicked him out of the order. Millennial went on to found another dark side cult, the Prophets of the Dark Side, while Cognis took on another apprentice. For centuries, the line of Bane continued. Roughly 30 Dark Lords of the Sith came after Darth Bane, most of whom very little is known about. One such Sith Lord was Darth Vectivus. The noteworthy Dark Lord after Cognis was Darth Gravid, who ruled circa 533 BBY. Gravid was unique among the Baneite Sith Lords in that he actually turned back to the light, destroying much of the Sith lore that he had amassed in his fortress on Jaguada. He was stopped by his apprentice, Darth Gian, who claimed the title of Dark Lord and slew her master, despite suffering extreme injuries in the process. But Darth
she's
Plagueis
mostly
still did considerable
cybernetic.
damage, and many Sith techniques were lost forever, including essence transfer. Nonetheless, the Order of the Sith survived thanks to Darth Gian. She was eventually followed by Darth Ramage, and then by an unnamed Dark Lord who, together with his apprentice, Darth Tenebrous, created a wound in the Force around 167 BBY, allowing the Jedi to sense the growing power of the dark side for the first time in centuries. Tenebrous, a Bith who was a starship designer named Ruges Gnome in his day-to-day life, eventually killed his master and became the new Dark Lord. Instead of seeking out an apprentice the normal way, Tenebrous, who was a scientist at heart, paid off a Mun couple to produce a child he calculated would be strong in the Force. When the child's strength in the Force became apparent, Tenebrous took custody of the boy, whom he named Darth Plagueis. In Tenebrous and Plagueis' time, the Sith Grand Plan was steadily approaching fruition. The Order of the Sith Lords had amassed a vast network of spies, contacts, and puppets, as well as an enormous fortune and a treasure trove of artifacts and lore. The Republic was becoming increasingly corrupt, the Jedi were becoming increasingly blind, and Sith-influenced corporations were becoming incredibly powerful. When Plagueis betrayed Tenebrous in 67 BBY and took the mantle of Dark Lord for himself, he believed the final victory of the Sith was near at hand. For his apprentice, Plagueis chose a young Naboo aristocrat named Palpatine, whom he named Darth Sidious. Sidious, as Palpatine, went into galactic politics, eventually becoming senator for the Chumul sector, while Plagueis operated as banking clan executive Hego the Mask. The two plotted to seize control of the Republic and wipe out the Jedi by installing Sidious as Supreme Chancellor. And they spent decades laying the groundwork for this plan, with Sidious stoking corruption in the Senate and Plagueis manipulating the galaxy's megacorporations into arming and preparing for civil war. But over the years, Plagueis steadily became distracted from the grand plan. He, like many Sith before him, was obsessed with the idea of achieving eternal life, and he had found a novel way to do so. Plagueis was a staunch materialist, and he saw the Force through a scientific light, not a religious one, as a poorly understood form of energy instead of an all-powerful entity. The key to this, he believed, was the midichlorians, which he became obsessed with manipulating and controlling. He made considerable progress on this technique, achieving the ability to micromanage midichlorians for the purposes of killing or healing. Plagueis' research became an obsession that he eventually spent all of his time on, while Sidious did the work of preparing for the fulfillment of the grand plan. To help him in this, Sidious trained a Dathomirian Zabrak, whom he named Darth Maul, to act as his Sith assassin. Plagueis was aware of and approved of this. Since Maul was merely a Sith assassin, not a Sith Lord, he didn't see it as a violation of the Rule of Two. Not that Plagueis cared much for the Rule of Two. In fact, he believed that he and Sidious would render it obsolete, as he believed his work would allow them to live forever. After Sidious's training was complete, the two began acting more as equal partners than master and apprentice, and Plagueis believed that the Rule of Two had been superseded. In 32 BBY, after decades of planning, the start of the final stage of the Sith Grand Plan began. Sidious and Plagueis manipulated the Trade Federation into invading Naboo, and while Sidious sent Darth Maul to help with the invasion, he and Plagueis manipulated the Senate into making him Supreme Chancellor. Riding on a wave of sympathy over the invasion of his homeworld, Darth Sidious assumed control of the Republic. With his victory secure, he turned on Plagueis. As the two celebrated their victory on the night of Sidious's election, Plagueis fell asleep after drinking too much wine, and Sidious killed him with a blast of Force lightning, proclaiming himself the Dark Lord of the Sith.
Wait, so Darth Plagueis was alive during episode 1?
With the help of his apprentices, first Darth Tyrannus and then Darth Vader, Darth Sidious used the Clone Wars to destroy the Jedi Order and transform the Republic into the Galactic Empire. The Sith Grand Plan was a success. Once more, the Sith ruled the galaxy, and the vision of Darth Bane was fulfilled. But the Sith's ultimate victory didn't last. A mere 20 years after the rise of the Empire, Darth Sidious was slain by Darth Vader, who returned to the light through the guidance of his son, Luke. With his death and Vader's redemption, the line of Darth Bane was ended, and though future generations of Darksiders would claim to be Sith, the dark side had taken a blow that it would never recover from. We hope you've enjoyed our history of the Sith.
Alright guys, I say that was a spectacular finish to this series. I mean, It basically explained everything from movies from episode 1 all the way to episode 6. We don't need to talk about episode 7 through 9. No, screw that. But yeah, as I thought, it did talk about like several characters I knew, like Darth Plagueis, but there was a lot of Darth Sith Lords that I never knew about, and their designs look amazing. And I like how he also explained like how there was like some Sith Lords that didn't like agree with the rule of 2 and pretty much just like went rogue and tried to like create their own cults or like their own factions again, but eventually it failed because their apprentices kept killing them and the cycle kept on continuing over and over again. But one thing that really threw me off was I did not know that Darth Plagueis was still alive during episode 1, because I thought about like when Palpatine was made the Supreme Chancellor, it happened like somewhere in the middle of episode 1. So if it was during that night, then that means during the middle of the movie, that's when Darth Plagueis was killed. But I say that's crazy. And then he explained like how, he became Chancellor, the Clone Wars, Order 66, turned into the Empire, and Vader killing him, and how both of them died at the end of episode 6. So yeah, this does make sense that this would be the very last video. So now we're done with the Sith history. So the next time you see me, we will start our journey through Republic history. So now we get to see the other side, like maybe how they form, major events, victories, defeats, things like that. So we're gonna see a lot of new characters. But anyways, this was amazing. A lot of credit and a lot of hard work was placed into the narrator who put this all together. So again, shout out to him, and he did an amazing job. Now let's see what he put into the Republic history videos, but I have very high expectations after what I've been seeing with the videos he's been putting out. So I'm really excited to check those out, but I'm not gonna be checking out today because I did 2 videos. I did a gameplay, and I still gotta edit a lot of videos because I got a lot of videos and storage into my laptop right now, and I gotta clear that out. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the series of me reacting to the Sith history. So keep an eye out to when I start releasing my videos of Republic history, and of course it's gonna be the Star Wars The Old Republic era. So again, thank you guys for watching. Keep an eye out for more content, and also check out my other videos I have on my channel. And again, thank you guys so much for your continued support in this channel. I really do appreciate it, and I hope you guys are having an amazing day or night wherever you guys are, and I'll see you guys next time.